What's up, guys? We are live again for episode number 3. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Today, I think we have a great conversation ahead of us with the team at Gold Star. But before we jump into it, I do want to mention again, like I have the last few weeks, um, for those of you that are watching via Michigan Breakfast Club, please go to streamyard.com/Facebook and allow Facebook access to the StreamYard app so that you can show your name on the screen instead of seeing Facebook user. Um, we do have a new audience today as well. I do want to also welcome those that are watching from the Booze Nest Facebook. So welcome to you guys. This is episode number 3. Hopefully you all enjoy it. And just like the last 2 episodes, any questions you have, feel free, jump on. Send us your questions. We'll be more than happy to answer them. So I think without further ado, we'll see if our guests are ready. If they want to give us a quick thumbs up or a wave to let us know that they're good to come in. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you, Chris, Brooke, and Patrick from Gold Star. Welcome, guys.
Hey guys,
What's going on?
how's everybody doing?
Big cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Over here.
Well,
Cheers. Zing,
what's in
zing,
the
zing.
glass? Thing?
Brooke,
This
break it
is
down for
a
us.
modified bee's knees. So it's a bourbon bee's knees, and I subbed cider for apple juice and made some honey simple syrup. It's got fresh squeezed lemon juice, sprig of rosemary, slice of apple, buff trace. Just keeping it easy.
It's good. It's good.
Very nice, very nice.
Cheers, Adam.
Cheers,
Yeah,
Adam.
cheers, sir.
What's going on, Steve?
Oh, there's Steve. What you drinking?
Was he chugging yet?
Well, yeah, at this point, yeah.
Steve's wife did a chug last week. It was amazing.
Oh, I missed it. I was on vacation.
It was fantastic.
Beautiful. So, let's jump right into it now that we know what's in the glass. And I'm sure everyone already knows you guys. So let's jump in directly into the story of Gold Star, and not only Gold Star, but saying I kind of want to jump that question 2 ways with Chris. Gold Star, Breakfast Club, MFR sales. But obviously tonight's show, we definitely want to know more about Gold Star as well. So if you guys want, go ahead, tell the story, be my guest.
He said your name.
Go ahead. Tell your story.
Okay. Okay. So,
This is how it works.
yeah, Gold Star really started as an opportunity first. We were given the opportunity to do something kind of special, and I and Brooke had thought, this is so cool. We've really got to try and make this happen. And
Well, it like paralleled with some disgruntledness, I guess we had that we felt that we shared with people where picks were really unilateral. Like this started when there was really just one main group around. You know, Breakfast Club wasn't around, Great Lakes wasn't around, Brown Water was like right at the same time starting, and we just thought that people were kind of looking for maybe more transparency or wanted to know who picked their barrels. Maybe wanted people who was picking for them and not for themselves.
Yeah.
And then, like Patrick said, this opportunity came up, and we were like, we keep bitching, for lack of a better word, about not getting these things. And now we have an opportunity. Like maybe we should just full force ahead and try to make it happen.
and Brooke and I were having these conversations, and we're like, we just need something more. And that's when we found our good friend Chris here.
Yep.
Recruited him in, and
Well, we were also like, I don't think we can do this without you.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
there's not
100%.
going to work.
I'm special.
yeah, no,
We
we
didn't think he could do it by himself either.
no.
To be, I don't know,
It
maybe.
does
so.
take a lot of time that I don't have.
Right.
But we just knew that it would be better if we all kind of combined forces, you know, and that eventually became our Maker's Mark Private Select pick, and
This is the first one
So that pick, social drink anxiety.
Separation drink.
Sorry, separation drink anxiety. Sorry. We, really tried to go above and beyond and do something that was special for a Maker's Mark pick.
Yeah, and different. Everything is either like spice or cocoa from them, I feel like, or
Yeah.
super sweet. I feel like we had a pretty good balance.
Yeah.
I think so when we went down and did that first barrel pick, we started a tradition that is long standing for us, or it's something we do every time now, where the night before we do a barrel pick, we are always bringing samples of other picks and other things, done by other stores, the shelf bottles, things like that. And we talk a lot about what we do like about those picks, but we also talk a lot about like maybe what we're not interested in bringing to our pick, even when we like it. Sometimes we are nixing ideas where we're like, we love this about that pick, but for different reasons, we've decided we don't want to bring it. Like, one of the things we really kept in mind when we dropped the Makers was we knew it was going to drop early summer. And we kind of kept saying, like, nobody wants to drink cocoa. We didn't want to. We didn't think it was going to hit as well.
Cocoa would have been a good fall or winter release.
Right. Yeah. So, so that's like one of our traditions now, that we always drink that. And
I think we've kind of worked hard to keep doing that with the rest of the picks that we've done, and, tracking down store picks or sought after, examples of, or, trying to get our hands on those things and saying, what can we do to break down what's good and what's bad?
And comparison tasting.
And comparison tasting.
And blind tasting.
Blind tasting and comparison tasting, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the best things that people can do with their own bourbon collection at home is line yourself up with some things blind and try and figure what they are, or taste some things side by side and try and pick out those things that are.
If you're doing that, I would recommend having a little rhyme to your reason. So I would recommend maybe you're choosing to put different weeders against each other, or putting things that fall within like a 5-ish percentile proof. Like you might do a bottled and bond. So they could be totally different distilleries, but they're all coming in at 100 proof. Or maybe you're tasting vertical, like across the turkey lineup or something. I would find one common denominator in your blind and or horizontal or vertical tasting if you're trying to do it for the sciencey side of it, I think.
For sure.
Right?
For science.
For science.
For science.
It's always for science.
Oh.
So we
Hey,
have a few
Adam,
comments and questions already as well. Steve wants Rundy to run for president. Is there anything in the works for that?
I mean, we can put something together.
Like maybe we can find time for that.
Yeah.
I will.
As long as it doesn't conflict with volleyball.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of grounds on the White House to play,
We could totally put a volleyball court in the Rose Garden.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure they got a gym up there too.
Yeah.
We also got Buddy Nick asked if the guy in the middle is single.
Hey, you're married. Watch it.
There is one more. And I guess I'll let you guys answer this first as well. What would you consider a good cocktail for after a day of shooting? I know I have my answer already, but
after a day of like actual shooting?
Shooting machine gun.
Machine gun shooting.
I mean, let me ask you this. Is there a bad drink for after shooting machine guns for a whole day?
I mean,
I would say no.
I would probably just do one of my favorite pours.
Yeah. I think, I know. If you can get your hands on it, it's Smoke Wagon, uncut, unfiltered. That's the one we just tasted the other night. We got a sample of. That was really cool, really good stuff. Keep it in the gun theme, right?
Yeah.
Smoke Wagon. That's a six shot revolver, old Colt style. So keep it in the gun theme.
Yeah. Or I mean, if you're shooting guns in the fall, warm up some apple cider and just pour bourbon in that.
Yeah, that's a win.
So good. So good.
So
warm in the thermos for the way home.
Yes.
Ooh, that's.
So with that
you can
said,
shoot at the same time.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
okay.
With that said,
Boilermaker.
we got a Boilermaker in the house.
All right.
Good down.
what is probably the
Oh,
best?
shot in the beer. And you chug.
So yeah.
What ooh.
All right, we missed it. What was that?
No, I'm thinking. I'm like, actually, now Boil America actually sounds good right now.
There it is.
Put one together. Call Mike and be like, bring one down.
So, on top of that, I guess that kind of jumps into question number 2 somewhat. What would probably be the best experience or favorite experience throughout time for I guess the entire Gold Star team?
The best experience? I would say my favorite experience was the first pick, the Maker's Mark. The Maker's Mark pick is a really cool process, and the Maker's Mark barrels are always hit and miss, but this was the only combination of staves that it's ever been done. And then they're at the end of this year, they're phasing out those staves, so this is possibly the only bottle that will ever be like that.
It is going to get made that one more time. So
that's right.
For the Infinity.
It is yeah. Maker's Mark is doing this big community project, and we were fortunate enough that they decided to have our bottle represent Michigan. So there's 30 states represented in a community project, and ours will go in for the state. So it'll get remade by the distillery, but it will get commingled with other private selects from 29 other states. So that's going to be the only time it gets remade.
Yeah, and this is the only pick that was done by a private group. All the others are
in that project.
Yep. So that's really cool. We were honored to be selected to be part of that process. You know,
we were.
The biggest thing is like our first pick. I was just happy with how well it was received.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
I can't tell you how excited. Like, it's nice to still see people posting the bottle and enjoying it. Obviously, it's like this, just like big warm fuzzy moment when you see it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I'm actually thankful for this stream because I ended up finding my bottle. So now that I actually found it in the back. So
we had some fun moments like discovering, this like these shenanigans of the things that we do drag us down to Kentucky somewhat on the regular, especially lately. And each time we're down there, we always kind of find ourselves in these like random situations, discovering a new distillery or like hanging out with these kind of back room situations, and those have some pretty fun moments too, like maybe ones we don't, or in people's garage drinking 166 proof hazmat coming out of like Heaven Hill, but it's not legit.
161 proof hazmat. That was pretty wild.
We do some of those, like, I think random moments where we just kind of take stock of where we are and the shenanigans we've found.
I think
that's fun too. This is an awesome question.
Mark Berlin.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Mark says, how often is a unanimous decision made when making a pick?
So this is probably the coolest thing.
I think this is our biggest point of pride.
We have done probably at this point.
We have
10 or 15,
6 bottled picks. We have 5 on the way. So yeah.
And then with the stores. So
the answer is
they're all unanimous.
Yes.
When we pick something, it has been unanimous, and it has been spectacular that's how it works out. Yeah. And we all have very different personalities and different flavor profiles that we like. And that's been the really cool part.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one pick that I did argue them on. But
so we blinded.
No. There was one pick I argued them on, and the pick was gone anyway, but they wanted to give me the samples anyway.
Oh, are you talking about the one that we ended up not getting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So.
I know what you're talking about. So there have been a couple of times where sometimes like we're wavering or one person is leaning towards a different pick and we will blind it out. So we'll put like our top 2 choices blind, and that's always been the big decision maker where every time we blind it, it's a unanimous across the board. So even we did that like that was not a gold star pick. We did the foolproof flight fight.
Yeah.
We all picked the same of the 4 choices we had. We all picked the same number 1 choice. Now we had different 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
We had the same last and the same first. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of an interesting thing for like how different we drink. Our outliers are coming together.
And so interestingly enough, I mean, we've got Spaze here, and we did a pick with Spaze. We did this new riff pick, and he was in the room. We all did all those samples, and he also was in there, and it was unanimous.
Also, one of the owners of the store picked on that one, and he voted with us too. After he didn't, we made him do a blind and voted right with us.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's really just about the best way to narrow down maybe what we consider best in show, is kind of something we come to about it is this is the best example or the best sample or the best barrel that we've found in what we've been presented with.
Right.
And we do talk out the reasons, so we've gotten a lot of feedback from master distillers when we've tasted with them, or owners of the distillery, or our hosts at the distilleries, who kind of laugh at us because of how much we talk about the sample and like what we're tasting. And if we think there's a place in our market for it, we don't want to overshadow other big picks that are already hanging out there or already have a presence. We don't need to duplicate those. And if we think the price point is fair for the offering, for the juice in the bottle, and if we would feel right telling people this is valued at this cost and stuff like that, we talk about even when we fall in love with something, we sit there and say, but this and this and this, but is it $10 too high? Is it whatever? And they kind of really get a kick out of it.
Yeah. We put a lot of work in, and we do turn down picks from different distillers and different, and like the stores that we work with, we always are like, if we don't like what they're offering, can we turn it down? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. And we're like, because sometimes they hand us stuff and we're like,
just can't push it through.
Do not want to offer this. There's been at least 3 different distilleries that we have just turned down because
actual samples. We've definitely turned down trying some.
Yeah.
And then there's actual samples we've turned down, or then there's invitations we've had that we've said, perhaps in the future, we've pushed off.
So I think kind of one of the funniest stories to kind of come out of that is one that Brooke kind of will razz me on is we were doing a tasting and Brooke asked me what I had thought of the sample, and I go, this is just not a good rye.
Oh my gosh. Actually, Chris wasn't there.
Yeah.
You were traveling at the time and you weren't with us. We were at the store. It was barrel bourbon, which I
was going to name names.
We are all about transparency here.
Okay.
It was barrel bourbon, and we had 2 samples. Now, the store had already kicked back 2 samples and said, we can't do it either. And they got 2 more samples and said, would you taste these and tell us if you think we're still there yet? And there's been some good, Yvonne had some good barrel picks. There have been some good barrel bourbon picks that hit the market, right? In our immediate market.
Tim Miller had a good hazmat one from I don't know where, but that
he
was
did.
Good.
So, they can be great, but they're so hit and miss. So we get these 2 samples. Actually, Chad Painter was in the store. We flagged down Chad Painter because he was walking by the store, and I was like, I want to vote. Come taste this because you're walking by us and I know who you are. And he obliged. And,
we will recruit you into things.
So we do have a question that came in from Roger. How many barrels do you actually get to pick from when doing a pick?
It depends on the distiller. There's a lot of things it depends on. Roger, sometimes we get sent 3 samples. Usually 3 is a minimum. Sometimes we get 3.
Sometimes we get 5.
Sometimes we get 13.
There was the whole lineup of the offering at one time.
And sometimes when you really create a bond with a distiller and you get that moment where you're all nerding out, it's like
18.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
this is one of the back room type places we landed up. We tried.
Yeah, you walk into the
It was
Rick House and they're like,
never-ending.
"You've got to try this, and you've got to try this, and this is this
Yeah.
project that they're working
When you're
on."
drinking out of your hand from
Yeah.
the cave, 'cause we just,
Yeah, you're like,
you're just
so
drinking off the barrels through the Rick
I
House.
think that's probably the craziest experience.
Yeah.
That's, you know,
So, but usually it is like Chris is right. It's usually going to be 3 samplings.
Usually it's 3 to 5, Roger.
It's pretty common that we see, 4 or 5 happens pretty frequently too. And then we've put ourselves in a few blending situations, and that is like 1,001 paint colors. That shit is fun and awesome, but I just can't articulate the amount of work, like
Yeah.
how taxing it is to do those things.
Yeah.
So I also want to kind of fire off a somewhat random question as well. Because obviously, as the Booze Nest, I do a lot of cocktail-based stuff and whatnot. I don't want to say just the picks you guys have done, but maybe for those that are watching on my Facebook as well, or those that are watching on Breakfast Club at the same time, are there certain bottles or spirits, more so specifically bourbon based, that you think work better in a cocktail than others? Or
Oh
do
yeah,
you think that's also a personal preference type of thing?
you do a lot of
When-
off-trace cocktails.
When I do a pick, I aim that to be done neat. That's
Yeah.
how I prefer to drink. And I might think that, hey, this would go good in that, but whenever I'm picking, I'm like, this is booze,
yeah.
and
And
this is
maybe
how
I,
I
like-
will enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I was hearing the question slightly different. So I think there's 2 ways. Like when we pick, we definitely pick for it being neat. We keep in mind that someone may mix this or put it on ice, but that it's going to have it's going to be a booze forward taste is what they're
Yeah.
going to get. When we make cocktails ourselves, Chris makes a lot. He leans on Buffalo Trace, I think, for a lot of his cocktails.
I don't make cocktails too often, but I just go with what I have 10 gallons of, which
Yep.
is like Woodford or like
I lean
Buffalo
on
Trace mainly.
Old Grandhead 114 is my go-to cocktail
Yeah.
bottle for sure.
So yeah, my cocktail bottles right now are going to be Elijah Craig, Buffalo Trace, and Woodford.
I think my rye cocktail bourbon, or my rye for cocktails right now, has been the Old Forester rye.
Have you talked about why you call yourselves Gold Star? It's not from a movie, is it?
They
like
came
not
up
that
with the
good.
name.
We had this was
Because
hard.
when you did something good in school, your teacher gave you a gold star. So like, we do a good pick, and they're like, "Here's a gold star."
We were
Yeah.
100% looking for this to be easy, right on the nose.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy to make a logo for it. Nobody hated it. Everybody was cool with it.
Yeah.
Fly right through. Again, everybody says yes, we just move forward.
Simplicity.
Yeah.
And I will mention again, and I apologize, I'm interrupting the conversation, but for those that just joined, definitely go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and give the StreamYard app on Facebook access to your name. That way, instead of showing up as Facebook user, we actually see your name in the comments. And I think what I'm going to do right now, especially now that I said that, I'm going to offer up another giveaway. For those of you that are watching, comment I love Gold Star or I love Booze Nest.
No,
And
don't say.
if your name's if you if you thanks Chris. If your name shows up in a comment instead of it showing Facebook user, we will do a raffle next week. And those that win will win some type of sample set from me. So definitely make sure you give access to Facebook. Any names I see from this point forward, or even during the entire video, will be put into a raffle, and I
We
will
can
draw
prepare
your
to
name
do
next
giveaway
week.
too, I think. So
Yeah.
I think we agreed to offer up. Currently, we have 5 bottles of our picks with 3 on the way. But we were going to
Mark
offer up.
Berlin, you better register there because it says Facebook user for your
Yeah.
name.
Mark, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and do that comment again after you give Facebook the rights to your name.
Cool. So
There's our first one.
But we'll throw down a 1 ounce sample of every pick we've done. You can do that 2 times easily.
3.
3 times. 3 times a 1 ounce sample.
We'll each give 1 ounce sample from our collection of all of the picks we've done so far from Gold Star. So, you know, get registered, blah, 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 do all that good stuff, comment.
Yeah.
Comment, like, and subscribe.
Well, and I brought this on for us to do today.
All
so
channels, to all pages.
Those picks are, that's what Gold Star's done so far. You know, we talked about the Maker's Mark. We had this bottle, the Savage Swine Whistle Pig, which was 16 years. We did the Godfather New Rib with the Booze Nest. Camera's over this way. We did not sticker these, but we did the picks for Beverage Warehouse, the Mayor Pingree 5 picks. They're so good. They're so tasty.
Really good.
And then the next picks we're releasing, we have 3 Starlight picks, and I think this is really exciting for us because Starlight isn't sold in Michigan, right?
Yes.
Like bringing it is really cool. And we went down there to pick a barrel. And we're driving down, and Chris is like, he looks at both of us in the car, and he's like, we're leaving with 2 barrels, right? Like, does anybody in this car think we're only buying 1 barrel?
What I said was, do you think we're only going to leave with 1 barrel?
And we were like, well, I mean, and Chris is like, because I don't. And we're like, okay, all right. I don't know, I was like afraid to say it. So naturally, we went down there and had to pick 3. It would have been like orphaning a phenomenal barrel, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So these are 2 of the barrels that we're bringing back with us. These are the samples we brought home that we're gonna revisit right now live. We poured them out. Yeah. So we're gonna revisit them. Tasting notes.
Oh no, that's good.
Yeah, you can see them.
Yeah,
they are
Pop-Tarts.
They are both bourbons.
But I want to tell you guys, we're crowd surfing right now too, because what you don't know, we're still working on labels for these 2, and we're not totally sure what to do.
Yeah.
So as you hear us talk about them, or as you hear us taste them, we're totally crowd surfing for labels.
Yeah.
And we definitely give away mad samples for people who help us with things.
And we already have a label for
the third
one we picked.
This is the label. Ooh, it's not really coming through.
Oh, there it is.
So this quite literally does give you the feeling of having that orange and cream.
It's like dreamsicle in a glass.
Yeah, it's wild.
We were standing there. It is a 3-grain 4-year bourbon. I turned to these characters to my left, and I was like, is anybody tasting orange and cream on this? Like, what is happening?
Jason,
the best part is,
and the distiller taps me on my right shoulder, and he's like, Brooke, look at the barrel. And it says orange lactose.
Right? So the distiller writes some tasting notes on all of these barrels that are in the pick. And those are his primary notes. And it just is so on the nose. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So here's a question. What's everyone's thoughts on a bourbon and Girl Scout cookie pairing?
Yeah,
party?
That's a thing.
Oh.
That's a thing,
There's
and it
actually
works.
pairing parties?
I tried it with 3 different Girl Scout cookies this year. We had every intention of actually doing a bourbon and Girl Scout cookie pairing offered at cost, but do it for like 15 people, and COVID.
Yeah.
COVID has screwed up a lot.
You gotta be careful. The girl from Girl Scouts will shake you down.
Yeah.
They want that money.
They still made it happen during COVID. They totally still made it happen.
So we had a lot of fun stuff planned. Like we had a pig roast and
like a volleyball barbecue situation.
We had a lot of stuff planned.
Whose idea was the volleyball thing?
The legalities of our sponsors who were paying for booze and paying for pig roast and paying for all this stuff, we could not do it with the COVID going on. And we don't, I mean, we love you guys, but we're not going to spend $1,500 to put on a party for you.
We will never love you that much.
We'll spend a little bit on you, but
But also, we don't want anyone to take risks that they don't feel comfortable with, or it would feel pretty awful if someone tested positive as a result of it.
Yeah. So coming 2021, check out Gold Star events. They'll be happening
because we're itching in a big way.
So hopefully in 6 months we're throwing a pig roast.
Yeah.
So be ready for it. It's coming.
Yeah.
All the food, all the booze.
Yes.
We always like giveaways. Oh, I'm getting into this.
Okay.
So the first one, this is our this comes out of Starlight, which is out of the Huber Winery and Orchard, has Starlight Distillery all on property together. This is their double oaked, which their double oaks are just really nice in general.
So toasted as well.
Right. Well,
double
this is they took
in a toasted barrel.
Correct. They took the double oaked and they put it in an Icon barrel, which is like a very, very fancy barrel. Yeah. They're like these uber expensive barrels, and it's toasted. And this one was toasted for like, was it close to 3 years?
This is no
2 years.
It's the wood is outdoor aged for close to 3 years.
Yeah.
And then it is toasted, and then a number 2 char.
We tasted a 3 and a 2 char, and I think we ended up choosing the 2 char.
2 char, yeah.
And so this started its life as a 4.5-year-old bourbon that they then filled in that Icon barrel.
So that makes this guy.
You got it, Mark.
Double oaked, toasted in a super fancy Icon barrel.
Yeah.
So labels, come at us.
Just let me give you a little hint here. These guys were like, I don't know. We got a lot of stuff. And I'm like, I don't like Michter's toasted bourbon. I do love their rye. But I was like, this toasted bourbon is amazing. I'm like,
I would blind us against Michter's toasted.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, we need this.
And
that's a discussion that we have. We sit there and say, would Michter's toasted bourbon kick our ass?
And the other one is the EC toasted doesn't even make it in the conversation.
That was an easy answer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yes, Mark Berlin, you did this right.
Yeah.
This one though, so for me, it brings some heat, right? This is not one of those like. It's not got sharp edges. Don't get me wrong, but it's not coming on subtle. You are aware that this is bringing proof to the table, and these 3 picks, final bottling on them are 112, 112, and 116 proof. I forgot which is which.
Yeah. So I mean, they do offer you. Do you want this at 90 proof? Do you want this at 100? And I'm like, barrel proof. Yeah. Everything.
Brandon Scott. Maker's Mark Private Select Gold Star destroys Michter's toasted.
That's right.
Yeah. How do we come drink with you?
Right there, Brandon.
Brandon Scott has acquired, I think, no less than
how many
5 bottles.
Brandon, how many bottles of that have you drank? How many bottles
of separation anxiety?
Brandon, how many of these have you put away?
He has played like all the raffles. He has done all the things. But so Ashley, this is a good question. Ashley Ann says, "How do we come drink with you?" Actually, you just hit us up and tell us you want to.
Send us a message.
We invite people over all the time. We enjoy it. It's like the best part of it.
I'm not sure if you guys got any messages or text messages, but we do have a special guest backstage.
Is he jumping in?
I don't know. Do we want to introduce him?
Yeah,
I believe you guys made this happen. So
we did
before I have him,
we asked a guest to join us, and we didn't tell Faze who it was.
We did not.
Let him in.
Here we go.
Oh, phenomenal!
How's it going?
What's going on, man?
This is the man, Starlight Distillery, who hosted us for our girl pick, and he's the genius behind all the crazy wood selections that we did at Starlight.
Well, thank you guys, and sorry I'm so late. It has been a very, very busy day at the estate. It was our first day milling for the fall of 2020 distillate. So a hectic day, getting the mill back to operation, get the weights, get the scales back together. I literally just walked back into my house, so it's a pleasure to be on here with you guys.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Thank you for giving us a few minutes,
Oh, yeah.
A couple weeks again.
Yeah.
We're coming to pick up.
In fact, Now
we're live revisiting our two finished barrels.
so we've got the Icon double oaked, and we've got the Scotch finished bourbon.
And we just showed everybody. We created a label for the Dreamsicle. Did you catch that?
Mm.
We'll show you our label.
He jumped on afterwards.
Label for the Dreamsicle.
Very nice.
Focus for a
You may
minute.
have to adjust a little.
There you go.
There you go. Wait. There you go.
There you go. Hey, that looks good. I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, it's definitely was a very fun day picking barrels, and like I said, at Starlight, it's we have some very unique things coming out. We definitely have a wine palette and a brandy palette, very driven on a terroir. And when we build these fun and intricate projects, we always leave the whiskey balance in mind. A lot of times finishes can be very overwhelming. But at Starlight, we try to leave the whiskey in the front of what we're trying to do and make the subtle nuances with our barrel finishes coming in the backhand to give it the elevation, those tertiary characteristics.
And honestly, for you guys being such a small operation, you have the best variety of any distillery we've picked.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's amazing.
Actually, we should ask Christian too. So we just introduced them to the double oak toasted Icon that we selected, but we did not tell them about the Scotch finish. Do you want to share the details on this barrel?
Oh, there's a great story behind it.
If I can jump in for 2 seconds, I kind of want to maybe have
back of a truck.
I maybe want to have him tell the story behind how Starlight began, if he's okay with it as well.
Go right ahead. Like we are, even though we're very new, starting on the craft artisan scene and new to blowing up in the stillhouse world, we are very, very old when it comes to an actual craft distillery. We were founded back in 1843. So we're 100. This is going to be our 177th harvest on the estate. Like I said, my great grandpa Simon Huber settled here in 1843, where he basically started this off as a wine estate. He was the second son of an estate over in Germany. Does anybody know what second sons get over as an estate?
Nada.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. So he left the farm, or left their wine estate over there, left the winery, came here to the New World to basically have a chance and roll his luck. He basically created exactly what they had back in Germany, which was a multi-fruit farm and winery. So very early on, we established as a winery. So as the generations go, winemaking has been in our blood. But very quickly, there's a root louse here in America called phylloxera that kills back vines. So very early on, Simon's vineyard were starting to die out, and he had to diversify in some way, which was distillation, but more so with brandy. Remember back in the 1800s and early 1900s, the main consumption product here in the United States was brandy. So brandy is been at the heart of us and really built our palate because we're wine brandy guys at heart. We just started distilling whiskey with Carl Huber, which was jumping into the fourth generation. He started doing very, very rough, I call it corn whiskey. It's 80% corn and then malted barley. It technically in a new American charred oak barrel, technically would be bourbon, but call it corn whiskey because I'm a high rye fan. Then going into my grandpa, who kind of swore away alcohol, kind of got away from it. And then this is the abridged story, then got back into my dad in 2001, started distilling brandy. We lobbied with a distillery called Seagram's, now known as beautiful NGP, to get bourbon back into the state. NGP was the only one allowing to produce alcohol in Indiana at that time. They lobbied with us, so we got the craft artisan bill passed in 2001. But unfortunately, they scratched whiskey and anything other than brandy, which is ironic as hell that corn was Indiana's #1 export, and they scratched whiskey off that. But my dad and a couple lobbyists put inside the actual clause of the artisan distill that we were allowed to experiment with different subsets other than brandy for experimental purposes only. It still sits in there today. But nevertheless, in 2001, we started up with the Starlight Distillery, kind of doing what our family's been doing for the last for 6 generations at that point. In 2005, my dad got appointed to ADI, American Distilling Institute, where he met Dave and Dave, Lisa Wicker, Dave Pickerel, and Dave Perkins were the 2 days I'm mentioning. Lisa Wicker, Dave, Penn Jensen, and all these guys. So in 2005, 2006, 2007, we started experimenting with bourbon and putting barrels back that we still can't sell today. I mean, they're 14 and 15-year-old whiskeys that were collaboratives with my dad, Dave Perkins and Dave Pickerel. Lisa was coming in and just distilling for fun. So we knew what our whiskey tasted like just for fun. Now, and here's the honest God truth. We were supposed to be another Smooth Amber or another Bell, like when it comes to Bell Mead, or it's coming to Smoke Wagon, Sagamore, and 90 million different other brands that you get from NGP. But that's what we were set up to be. But funny enough, when we were starting to build the still house, we knew what our whiskey tasted like. And the man himself, Dave Pickerel, looked at Dad and he said, never source whiskey for us. He said, once you go on that, you'll never be able to come off of it. He now owns, when he was alive, he had Whistle Pig. And I think he finally started realizing that you can't come off of it. It's hard. I mean, Willett's doing the transition right now, as you guys know who's listening. Sagamore, Smoke Wagon, Smooth Amber. It's hard to switch into your own juice when you're getting 8-year-old really, really beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
So Dad looked at Dave and said, look, your whiskey is 8 years old at this point. Taste it. This is stuff people will be trying to get to. I mean, bite the bullet. Like I said, age it for 3 years and then come out with it. We're very blessed to have our winery to be able to support and do that.
Right.
So from Starlight, from the very beginning, we were our own distillate coming off our own farm. And we're still proud to say that today. Like I said, as we've grown, Starlight is not named Hubert's Distillery, it's named Starlight because the whole town helps us put this on. From the corn that we grow, not only on our property, but our sister properties, the rye, and the whole 9 yards. Really, it's a community effort to put on what our distillery is. So since the beginning, we've been really, really advocate on our own distillate coming from our own place and that true sense of terroir within whiskey making and the authenticity of that. We're very open to what we do because no one is going to make whiskey like us. We can tell you the yeast, exactly the mash bills, exactly the barrels, but we don't have a standard operating procedure when it comes to actual production of alcohol. We make the best whiskey that day. So our proofs, like I said, so in the cooker,
to that point, when we were there picking, it wasn't like we had to say, hey, we're coming down to look at bourbons or hey, we're coming down to look at ryes. It was, you can taste everything in the Rick House today. It was just check it all out, whatever piques your interest. Everything's on the table.
And you guys I think you have more creativity or more ability to be flexible and creative in your mash bills, in your process, in what you're trying to achieve because you're
controlling it.
You're controlling everything.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
There's some mornings where we do high rye. Jesse decides that he's going to go a little higher in rye. We're going to ferment at a little different temperature. We're closed top, closed jacketed, so we can get temperature control our yeast. We've used firm solutions, which those who've been in the industry a while, that's Wilderness Trails, the guys who started that out. We've been, like I said, we're wine guys. We've been big into yeast. Being in the wine guy, you think distilleries that are nerdy in yeast, wait till you talk to a winemaker. When it comes to yeast and especially temperature optimization for Saccharomyces cerevisiae and Delbruck guys, you can really, really pinpoint kind of different esters that you can build up within your fermentations of these. And we express that. Jesse does a very, very nice job of that. And he's done a beautiful job crafting that. So from the fermenter, we do different, like I said, different temps, different yeast strains, different mash bills, all going into that pot. And the distiller really, truly gets to have the ultimate say. We don't just cut at 125 to tails. Every distillate we taste for heads, heart, and tails. And we're all very different. That's why you see on our bottles if it's a T or it's a C or it's a B Huber, because we all cut differently. One of the funniest things is I like high rye spice, and I bring my distillate across to bring those citrus notes. And I'm not a big corn husk guy, so I cut very early on in the distillate, take some tails, run the reflex back, save it a little bit, take that harsher rye oil across, clean it up, bring that back into the heart cut and put back in. My dad.
Can you we've got kind of a great story here about you getting a little bit creative on the barreling side of things.
We do want to tell people the barrels we're bringing to them, but we're bringing them because of your creativity. Like we show, the Dreamsicle is just a bourbon that came out tasting really cool. But the other two finished barrels we got are so unique, right? And so we're going to deliver them to these guys.
And so we've got that sample here as well. So this is the second sample we've got with us tonight.
Scotch finished.
It's the Scotch finished barrel. So maybe you want to tell us that story.
Yeah. So funny, like I said, I'm not a purist, but I'm a purist at heart when I want my finishes to I want it to taste like the finish that I'm trying to make, right? It can be very overpowering. I'm very picky of what I've done. The Scotch barrel was a happy act, to say the least. I was actually picking sherry barrels that day at my importer when I came across the two barrels I ended up buying. So I go down there, and like I said, these were Jim Beam Booker Knoll barrels. So these were Booker Knoll barrels that were sent to Scotland, filled up with Glendronach Scotch, aged in Scotland, and then came back over here because Glendronach is owned by Brown-Forman. Back over here, and my buddy was unloading these barrels, and like I said, he's like, "Where are these going?" He said, "Brown-Forman." I said, "How much does it cost for you to break 2 barrels?" And I asked him, I said, genuinely, he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "How much do I have to take for you to write down that?" Because I saw one come broken out of the truck. I'm like, "How much does it take for you to break just 2 more of those barrels?"
And
I said,
"Yes, you do."
As one does, right?
So I said 150, 200, and we worked out a deal, and I got these 2 barrels. They were freshly dumped Scotch barrels. And Scotch is very fun to play with because malt whiskey is typically not your bourbon advocate's go-to. I mean, I'm a huge malt fan anyway, but it was fun doing a very sweet malt and do the complexity of what a Scotch is, blending that into what traditional bourbon is. We went in there with a 4-grain, very, very open with it, no dilution. I forget what the proof ended up coming out of that project.
It's 112 or 116. I'd have to go back to the label.
Yeah, and it balanced out nicely. It's
what we put right here. We brought back the little sample.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not very overwhelming when it comes to the peatiness of it. Like Glendronach really doesn't have that, but you get that
112.2.
Yeah, 112.
Yeah.
But the malt of it is the sweeter Malteser, kind of more of the space side versus your real smoky Isle Scotch.
Yeah.
So it blended out very, very well. It was very subtle in the backbone of what the whiskey is. You can definitely tell this is straight bourbon whiskey, but you can get this nice rounded Malteser note in the back of the palate. I
feel like you can't miss the Scotch on it, but you're not going to mistake it for a Scotch. You're not going to be confused that this is a Scotch by any means, but you can't miss those flavor notes on it, which is one of the reasons, like people, we were sitting there ready to pull the trigger on this. See if I can get this right. Single malt, peach wood smoked, finished in a
sherry cask.
Oloroso. No, it was a Pedro. Oloroso. Pedro Jimenez sherry cask. We're sitting there with, like, this is wild. And it was cold smoked too, right? Yep. It was wild. And we're like, we probably have to walk with this. And then we went over to this Booker No 21-year Glendronach, only 2 barrels of its kind experiment. And we tasted it, and we're just like, what the hell is happening here? Yeah. Like, this is, how do you walk away from this? There was no walking away from this barrel.
Yeah.
The cool thing with it's all representation of the still and the plate. I mean, we run a 500-gallon Vendome brass and copper with a 5-plate low wine column, heavily deflator, and then a condensing column adjacent to it. So someone
asked a question about that. They said, how many stages does the still have? Someone chimed in with that.
Well, we're pot. So remember, pot still and column stills are a little different. So we do 2 charges of the still. So we do a stripping run, and then we do a finishing run. So the distillate goes through 2 distillations of refinement. Like I said, the stripping run, stripping the alcohol out, base tier, no column, just going straight from pot to condenser. The finishing, like I said, we have a 5-plate low wine column with a deflator that can run some very heavy reflux back to the pot. In layman's terms, it's fun to be able to clean a whiskey up to the point where you're happy with it. Like I said, you can run that through to where it has more oils, or you can send reflux back and clean that thing up as clean as you want it, which is why I like the diversity of pot distillation. And it does have a very unique flavor profile to where I can pick and choose the individual oils I want to take into my distillate.
I like those oils.
Yeah. They just coat your mouth.
I think that is something we've looked for as a pick team. Is we definitely look for that consistency between nose, taste, mouthfeel, finish.
I mean, we love when something's oily, but don't get me wrong. We've had some fantastic light whiskeys recently.
Yeah.
Things that are not oily that we have thoroughly enjoyed, and you have to compartmentalize what you're tasting and what you like about it. But it is like just winning across the board for us when you have this excellent nose and the palate backs it up and it's oily and it coats your mouth and the warmth lingers and then it's flavor for days and you exhale and you get more of that flavor in your breath and it's just that's how you end up with 3 barrels at Starlight.
Well, and
that is exactly how you end up with 3 barrels.
Well, and we're very blessed, as a whole, as a company, that we're looking back at what we kind of started and kind of where we're going. We're craft distillation. We're not NGP. We're not Dickel. We're not Buffalo. We're not rebottled Heaven Hill. We're our own distillate. And Starlight has if you haven't had us yet, we have a distinctive flavor profile. I mean, it's Starlight. I mean, for those who have tried it, who are listening,
we'll be trying it.
Yeah, or we'll be trying it here in the future. Like I said, Starlight as a whole, like I said, I mean, I'm 7th generation. There's nothing more than I want my kids and their kids to be able to keep running the distillate and keep getting older and older whiskey. So it's a really, right now you have a rare opportunity to see what our whiskey tastes like right now. Because in 10 years, we might be in 7, 8, 9-year-old whiskey and be a totally different monster. And who knows, my kids might be running it where they can be able to pick 18-year-old whiskey.
Can't wait for that.
I know. We're so ready for it.
I mean, we're sitting barrels back right now to go for 25, 20, 18. A lot of experimental stuff just to see where we're at. We're not craft distillation, meaning, and truthfully, our family's philosophy was craft distillation doesn't give you the right to charge double the amount for twice as young whiskey. I mean, that's always the thing within the craft distillation. Or like I said, you have very underripe whiskey that's just not where you want it. So it took us a very long time to be able to say, for us as whiskey geeks, like I said, our family is whiskey geeks. That's why we got into it. Tonight, having the 4 Roses limited edition 2019 release, because tomorrow I have to go pick up my 20. I have my 2020.
However, do you manage, Christian?
So difficult.
Actually, you know what's very blessed? I got my King of Kentucky coming up to me tomorrow. I have my 4 Roses. Then I bought an 8-year-old Willet, and I get to pick a Old Foe cast strength barrel all tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be a good day.
That's great.
Actually, so
You're gonna be busy.
We just picked an Old Forester barrel strength too. So we have these Starlight barrels come in, and what Gold Star the next release will actually be an Old Forester barrel strength. And I gotta say, that was a cool pick, but it was cool. It wasn't like some pomp and circumstance for us. It was just like, holy shit, this is fantastic.
Well,
we just really enjoyed doing that pick because of how good it is.
It's a really good product, that Old Forester barrel strength coming at you.
Oh, they're lovely.
Yeah, so I hope you
now that you guys kind of mentioned that, I also kind of had a twofold question, but I think part of the question was just answered from you guys. But I do want to, now that we have Christian on, I want to turn this into a 2-way question. Whoever wants to answer first, be my guest. But what is next for Gold Star, and what is next for Starlight?
Starlight does the crazy things. Yeah. They just keep doing cool shit.
Well, like I said, if I want to go, like, if you let me go first, kind of deal. It's
Go
Starlight.
right ahead,
Please, please do. I'll just sit here and drink your booze.
Yeah.
Starlight.
It'll be this.
Cheers.
Starlight. Like I said, we're whiskey geeks at heart. I mean, my dad being on ACSA and now Discus, me and my brother both being in the wine game. We want to keep putting older and older whiskeys back. And we want to keep it maturing what we have. And there's nothing, like I said, we're putting warehouses back. We're refining of what we do. And we figured out what we like. Because as a whiskey hole, we are who we are.
I get it.
We're not going to experiment. We're not going to go too off the beaten path because we like our 3 grain, we like our 4 grain. We're going to refine what we have done with those two. We're going to keep doing fun cast finishes. I got silver oak barrels coming in from California. I got some Weird and All Wild cognac barrels, some XOs coming in that we're. But for a Starlight as a whole, we've been asked to increase production massively, and we were not going to do that. And as a reason being is that we want to basically take a stair and keep stepping it up slowly by slowly. Like I said, we don't want to put it in a big column still because once the family doesn't do the cuts in the still, it doesn't become Starlight anymore. Starlight's about the town, the people, the family doing the cuts, doing the barreling, doing the proofing, tasting it. That's what makes Starlight special. So like I said, we're going to stair step it. I mean, I'm already working. My 2-week average been, I think I was putting in 100 and my last week's 2 week was 118 hours. So I was doing 118 every 2 weeks. I can't do much more and I'm ready to start distilling again, but we want to staircase that in and keep figuring out what we do best. As a whole, Starlight, like I said, we want to put more barrels back, but we want to do it the right way. We want to get our age statement. And we want to be able to bring the whiskey to the consumer who's really geeky and who really wants to understand the story, see us now, but also see our 8-year-old whiskey coming soon.
So I heard one word during that entire thing that really made my eyes pop, especially since cognac was my first love before bourbon, for those that don't know that. Are you willing or able to tell more about that cognac finish? Or is that something that we may have to wait for?
Top secret. Shut your mouth, okay?
I got you.
So my first love was brandy too. I mean, I'm still a huge brandy nut from Armagnac, Cognac, Calvados. I've always been a fan of brandies. I'm very picky. I never did a cognac finish because I've hated the barrels that come to the States, period. But
They're massive casks, aren't they?
no,
700 liters.
they're pungent size, so they're a little less than, they're 90 gallon pretty much.
Okay.
So when I went over there and I finally found 2 casks I like, it was a big deal for me because, like I said, I like the raisiny, apricot-y, very fresh floral fruit. They're 100% Uni Blanc was this. They were actually a second rebarreling. As you know, with cognac, they age them in new oak for a little bit and then they transfer into more used barrels. And I wanted the used barrels because I wanted the saturated oak rather than the newer oak because I wasn't going to body the wood coming from it. I wanted to body the distillate and the grape. Again, these are both XO level of what it was. Very small producer, like I said, still in the cognac region. But like I said, they're marrying right now high rye 4 grain into it. So like I said, I'm trying to balance out the citrus candy of our 4 grain high rye with more of the apricot fresh fruit. The project's still very young. I want to get it into a couple winter sessions, start warming these barrels up before I come out with an XO. But I only got 2 barrels of them. Again, we'll do the same thing like Scotch. I'll offer it for picks, and I'll take half of whatever one someone doesn't want.
Nice.
Let me know. I might be somewhat interested in that, especially being a cognac guy. Because my first love was Hennessy XO. So
we're actually bringing down. So I'm going to do a big brandy compo, like a big. So I want to get in some Armagnac cask. Then I have that.
Oh.
So I'm
Jason Sauer's still here. He was a giant Armagnac fan. He's just gotten into it.
And then I want to do like Calvin. I want to do those 3 very different. see how they mature, and basically data points for us to really help that out. Back to it, it's like one of the things is you never know until you do it, and that's why I do these little 2-barrel experiments
Yep.
because they're fun. They're just like our Napa Cab cast. Like I said, the Silver Oak experiment. I mean, we have plenty of fun stuff that we're willing to try. So it's fun. I mean, we're a single barrel distillery for a reason. Everything within our can be a single barrel, right? We don't have a mash bill for single barrels. It is what it is. We pick casks that are great coming out of the lot to make it a single barrel. And for those, like I said, we produce 800, 900 barrels of bourbon a year. And we don't sell that, like I said. So a lot are going back to the 5, now 6, going to 7. So we can have some fun with these really, really interesting cask finishes to be able to subset that right now.
So I guess another question. I kind of know the difference, but I know, especially on my page, there may not be people that know the Armagnac versus Cognac difference.
Hmm?
Is there a way maybe you can explain that in a few minutes? I don't know how
Yeah.
much time you have, so I apologize for.
No, Cognac and Armagnac, they're two different regions, subset regions. So it's just like saying if you're Bordeaux versus Burgundy, right? So there's two different AOCs that differs between Cognac and Armagnac. And they have very different terroirs, or the sense of the soil that they're grown in. Cognac is exclusively the Uni Blanc grape. Uni Blanc is a very fresh, high acidity grape. The distillate is done in a very way, like I said, that keeps that very freshness. And a lot more cognac is blended with multiple different vintages to make what is the VS, VSOP, or XO. Armagnac, a lot of times, is done with Uni Blanc, but more so with Colombard, another grape variety. And then they do a lot more, like I said, same aging, but they keep a lot more vintage dated products. Armagnac, like I said, in my opinion, I like it because it shows vintage variations. They have a little bit more of this like cedar wood boxness, not as sweet, but they do vintage. So you can find 25-year-old and 30-year-old Armagnac vintages. I just bought the 1981. It was aged 25 years in French oak barrels. But they're very, very fun to do with, but they're very different products. So when you say French brandy, everyone thinks cognac, but the baby being Armagnac and the real baby being Calvados. But Calvados is just apple brandy for those that keep dropping that word. But that's the main difference without going super, super technical, because there's a little bit difference on their actual production methods. But that's just kind of the overview.
Okay. I guess one of the last questions I have, because obviously I also know everything that you've done with Gold Star as well. You mentioned wine a few times. With that aspect, has Starlight ever drifted to that direction, or will they be drifting in that direction for those that are maybe not familiar with Starlight right now?
So Starlight is actually a subset of our actual winery. So we own a winery called Huber's Orchard Winery. It's the original estate back in 1843. We are Indiana's largest estate-grown vineyard, one of the largest estate-grown vinifera growers. So we focus under the Bordeaux varietals: Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Tannat, Malbec, Blau Frankish, Pinot Gris, Chardonnay. And we do still have some hybrids, Vignoles, Sauvignon Blanc, and a few others. But Huber Winery is a much larger brand than our Starlight Distillery, and that's the reason why we keep putting back our own juice. It's been able to fund a lot of that stuff from Starlight Distillery. But we focus. If it was still bright outside, right outside my back yard right here, I have vineyards surrounded by the home. Yeah. So it's really fun to be able to bring the winemaking and brandy palette into the distillation world. And I think it's a fun way for people to get a different sense of what bourbon really is, because we're traditional, but we do a lot of non-traditional distillation methods with our cuts, with our barrel choices. And basically when it comes to fermentation, we're very geeky, put it that way.
Yeah.
So I
Like
kind
it.
of want to get back into the Starlight and Gold Star
Yep.
story.
Mhm.
Because I know you guys, as we kind of went through those few questions,
Yeah.
I saw you guys taking
So
multiple different,
it's like
I guess,
it's a
questions.
Starlight Gold Star Breakfast Club story. So what happened was
Yep.
we were down for the Breakfast Club, Elijah Craig pick.
Yep.
And I'm in a few different national groups and stuff, and I have seen the Starlight bottles kind of blowing up nationally. You know, they're not blowing up in Michigan. They're not offered in Michigan. Maybe not so surprising. I think there's definitely like a lot of big bourbon geeks in the club who are aware of it, but it was on my radar. Right. And so the guys, I was like, so we're doing this pick. We're down here. We have Saturday afternoon. I want to go to this distillery that's like within 30 minutes of Louisville where we're staying. I really want to see everything that Starlight's about because I hear nothing but good things from trusted sources. And the guys are like, yeah, whatever, fine, book it. So I book us out for like a day. Which like to their credit, they're all like, sure, if you want to do it and you recommend it, let's do it. So I book us out for basically a day at Starlight.
Yeah.
I sign us up to do a tasting. There's like the food in the cafe. You're going to hang out. We're going to do all these things.
Tour the ground.
Yep,
Yeah.
tour the grounds, all that stuff. So we roll up to Starlight on, I think it was Saturday. And
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. Take a look at the help section.
Alexa's getting a little shouty. So the funny thing is we roll up to Starlight, and as Chris is parking, I'm like, that's the Warrior Barrel guys. And we see like Warrior Barrel doing their barrel pick walking up.
Yeah.
And like I'm secretly scouting it because I'm hoping the guys have the best day at Starlight because I want to do a pick there. And we like run into Warrior Barrel, and I'm like, I thought you guys were here last week. And they're like, but it was so good, so we had to come back and do another barrel.
Yeah.
This is like, we're in the parking lot for 90 seconds at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm already like, I feel like I'm winning on the Starlight pitch. Hey, right? Because Warrior Barrel is like, you can't do one, you got to do two. We even extended our trip to come back. Go hang out with Christian. It's the best day. So we see them, then we go like do this tour, and we have like a great tour. We do all the tastings, and we're like, so about these barrel picks. And next thing you know, we're like talking to Christian's dad. He's like such a wonderful man, and it's such an honor to be able to like meet the president of the distillery and the guy who runs it all. And we'll talk to you about a barrel pick right then and there after you've just sampled all of their stuff. And we had a personalized tour, which was cool.
A little bit to say, like, these guys are a working family running a real farm and doing distilling. Ted was working.
Dad, like,
he took the trash out with
the dumpsters.
Like, so this is a real American success story for sure.
They've been a long-standing success, but like they're hardworking people producing good products. It's a working farm, and it's so cool to see, right?
Yeah.
But we went and we had the best day, and they were like, yes, you can do a barrel pick, and this is how it goes. And that was it. We left that weekend. On Monday morning, I was chatting with the contact, and we were back down 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Picking barrels.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess that also falls into the question: has anything already been picked, or is
For
the
Starlight?
revisiting today? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
so
no.
We've already picked these barrels. We are just revisiting
beautiful.
them while we're on camera with you guys for a refresher, and we're going to try and talk about some ideas for labels.
These 3 barrels are done deals.
Yeah, so we have 3 Starlight barrels coming.
And I will say, as Starlight as a whole, we a few picks, like I said, as you guys can see through the national brand. We actually as a whole focused under groups rather than a lot of big retailers.
You guys like embrace it, which is
phenomenal.
So nice.
Yeah.
Well, for us, we want because we're not a very big, so we want to get the whiskey to the whiskey geeks that will really understand and appreciate what we do. If you don't understand whiskey, I mean, it's great to be able to buy Russell's Reserve 10-year for $20-something bucks, $30. It is great. But for our whiskey, we thought that we'd go to the geeks first to be able to tell our story and to pick up brand ambassadors that way, because really those are the guys that will appreciate what we're doing on our own and like with our own distillate. So yeah, that's kind of why we've always followed under the whiskey groups rather than the big retail.
And yeah, like the thing is, like, you don't produce a Jack Daniels. You're like, this is not our Starlight bourbon. We don't have, like a massive production of this stuff. You have some of your bourbon for sale and you have all this other stuff, but I just love how you do so many projects, like this aged and that, and just so many different agings. It's so cool. It was,
But it was cool to see. So, like, even when we were tasting in one of the rooms, when we were next to the toasted barrels, the double oaks. I mean, Christian says he's all about the groups, but like, he must have had 10 different group picks that weren't Starlight barrels sitting on the counter over to the side, just because, like, he's a drinker himself. He's the geek he's referring to also, and he's embracing those picks as much as he's embracing them being Starlight.
Yeah,
and that was cool to see too.
Like I said, our whole family's a big geek, and when it comes to, I mean, hell, we buy so much bourbon, it's ridiculous. Honestly, we sit here and I'm looking over at my picks, and it's kind of fun to be able to say, like, my dad has the very first ever Bowman single barrel, period. Their very first ever barrel pick they put out.
That's super wild.
I have all the Keep series. I mean, I got everything from, like, don't get me wrong, I'm out of Buffalo's house, so I'm sorry for those who are listening who like Buffalo Trace. I'm just out of their house. I'm not a weeded fan other than Stag. I think sometimes the Stag Antique and, like I said, and the LaRue, but for the most part, I like my turkey picks, always have been. I'm a big fan of Michter's. I mean, God's sake, I have the 23-year-old Willet, one of their purple, like the wax dip, and I've just,
damn it, those purple tops. Spase was going to ask us, like, so he gave us prepared questions, which we'd prepared not at all for. But those purple tops, Gold Star would love to do a Willet pick, and Gold Star has like no lead on doing a Willet pick currently.
Drew is a good, like, if you can ever get a hold, Drew's a good guy, and Willet as a pick is a very fun pick.
Yeah.
I appreciate what they're doing, and they've done a lot of really fun things out there. I really do appreciate what Willet's doing. I've blet a fan of Willet since actually I had dinner. Funny enough, I'll get off subject. I met the owners of Old Carter, Smooth Amber, Kentucky Owl. That guy had dinner the other night. It was so fun to be able to chat up those guys. I know now they're kind of going on with some Pernod card things, and but it was cool to be the whiskey community, like, at that level is such a small, and it's funny that I run into these guys. But he's coming back up here, and I'm going to be able to try Tri-State because I can't afford Tri-State. And then I actually get to try Old Carter batch 1 through 5, one of the original ones they put out, because it's that.
It's good. It's real good.
Yeah, it is real. Like I said, and Kentucky Owl, they do a good job with Kentucky Owl. I like batch 1 of the rye the best. But like I said, it's just fun to dabble into.
So I've heard that too. Someone just recently gave me a Kentucky Owl rye sample. Actually, Jerry Wayne gave me a 2-ounce sample of Kentucky. We did a sample swap, and I have a 2-ounce sample of Kentucky Owl rye. And he is like, I'm telling you, Brooke, put it in a blind against all the best ryes you can possibly think of. He's like, it's going to win. And I'm like, get out of here. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, it's fantastic.
Well, and actually was drinking up here with Mr. Henderson. He bought my sherry barrel and he bought my rye pick that I did. So it's kind of fun that the head guy or the owner of Angels Envy is still coming up here buying our stuff at Twitch. Traded up some Missouri cask, like I said, the Mizunara kind of thing, to be able to try.
We just tried it.
Yeah.
We picked up the Mizunara Oak Angels Envy on Saturday. So we were doing a Nulu pick, and one of the guys on the team had picked up, so we went and picked up his bottle of the Mizunara Oak. And have you opened it? Have you tried it?
No, he's bringing, like I said, I didn't.
It's so lovely.
Yeah.
It's oh my gosh. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful, like, bottle, decanter, but the juice inside of it is
Christian, go ahead.
Phenomenal.
Put the invoice in for a couple of those Mizunara Oak casks. I think it's a real strong investment.
You know what the fun part is? I flew out to California back in September, and I was picking those casks out. So I flew out there. Like I said, they import them out there. They're held in Sonoma, and I flew out And I've been smelling them. Haven't pulled the trigger. Like I said, I'm very picky, and I know what Mizunara is supposed to smell like, and I haven't found one. I truly believe that all those casks should be imported during the winter, especially casks like that, how delicate they are, because summer heat, especially on a shipping container, sets those off, right? That's why my cast finishes I bring over in the winter rather than the summer. They really do set off aromas. I mean, hell, it took me over 80 barrels of Sauterne to find 2 because they just all went off. And you have to like, don't get me wrong, there's a very large distillery that imported them, and I smelt them and I found 2 that I liked. Good luck. There's a very big brand, know who they are, and if you come out with one, good luck. I'd love to see how it balances out. But when you have off aromas like VA, sulfur barrels, even, it's very hard to pull a trigger on the cask because that will overwhelm the whiskey and set off aromas very quickly.
Yeah. All right, Christian, we want to thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah,
we super appreciate you joining us and for producing great whiskeys that we're going to bring to Michigan. So
I can't wait to grab these.
Yeah.
I definitely can't wait to see what Gold Star did with everything. So mark me down for a bottle, whatever you did.
Like I said, I hope you guys had a wonderful picking experience with us. We hope to have you back here in the future as well.
It was great, and we'll be back for sure.
Yeah,
all of the above.
Yeah, well, and thank you again for having me on. Again, I'm sorry I'm late. I was getting off work.
But thank you for your time. Honestly, we had no expectations, so it was awesome that you could jump on it all.
I appreciate you jumping in.
Yeah, as always, again, I love this, have our story, and like I said, I love to tell who we are. I know I'm young, so anybody looking, like I said, but as a whole, Starlight's really excited to be able to get the recognition that we're getting, and we're blessed to have very much friends and ambassadors all over the country. So we're very thankful for you guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think one of the last things we'll close on, and I'll give you a little bit of time as well, because I'm sure everyone watching is in awe, just like I am, because I had no idea you were coming on. What do you maybe want to say to everyone as far as what is to come, or what we can expect, or when we can actually get these bottles in Michigan? Probably that last question before everything else.
Well, so Michigan, like I said, Gold Star is probably your best bet in the next year that you're gonna taste some picks and get in with it. Like I said, it's gonna have to be club picks that you're gonna have to see from Michigan. It's a very hard state to get into, as you probably guys know.
We do know.
So
we know it very well.
So actually, the next state that we chose to approach was we went south rather than north. We actually are going into Tennessee, being a bigger, being the whiskey market that it is. But as a whole, Starlight, like I said, be on the lookout. We're going to be creating very small batch products that we're going to try to spread out across the estate. We're no doubt going to have to be allocated in a lot of this, but allocated with a good price point. We're $32.99 for our standard bourbon and standard period. That's for our 4 to 6 year old blend. We're not going to change that. I mean, that's what it is, and that's where it's going to stay at. Single barrels, depending on what they are, $49.99 is what we have here at the state, $59.99. And they go up from there, like I said, depending on the cask and what we're doing and the size and the quality. They're fun. But here at Starlight, like I said, hopefully you guys will be able to see great artisan craft whiskey at a beautiful price with an age statement that's actually worth its money. And that's kind of what Starlight's all about. Yeah. We're a family. We've been here, like I said, I'm the 7th generation of it. We actually have, my cousin started, like I said, we have little 8 generations now running around. So as a whole, Starlight is a town. It's a family. It's a still that we keep on running, but it's a sense of place, terroir. It's truly who we are and the person distilling it. It's a really honor to be able to be a part of the family, to be able to create whiskey this way. But I mean, we're craft distillation, and that's what we are. We're trying to show our town, our place, our farm, our soils, and we're excited for you guys to be hopefully on the train with us and be able to go on the journey with us and see how we develop, and as we get older and older whiskeys, to be able to be along to see how our whiskey becomes more complex and see how things change. I mean, it's going to be a fun journey.
And our people will find out in 3 to 4 weeks
Yeah, we should be.
how good it is. And we're honored to be the first people in Michigan to be bringing this
club
to Michigan.
Yep. First.
That's not this guy too.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Christian,
Yeah, thank you so much for popping
thank you for
on.
your time and everything.
Yeah, thank you guys. And again, always reach out to me. I've tried my best to answer everything I can. There's no doubt that I have 200 and some odd messages that I have to get back to tonight.
Yes, for sure.
Oh my gosh, no.
And,
So,
and
yeah,
for those
good riddance. We're all signing off here. We'll probably chat with Spaze for like a few more minutes because he's a good friend of ours. But other than that,
we appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you again in the few weeks when we're down there, a few weeks to a month or whatever.
All right.
And for everyone that has questions, send it to the 4 of us. We definitely appreciate you joining, Christian, and thank you again.
Yeah, and reach out when you get anything. Let us know your honest opinion. It only helps me blend better whiskey. So again, cheers. Thank you.
And visit them. Put them on your bourbon show.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome.
Spaze, thank you for letting us surprise you with a guest.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having him. So I know we're running on almost an hour and 20 minutes now. And I know we kind of got into your dream barrel during that conversation, which you said was Willet.
I would hate to like home in on a single barrel, because I gotta say, like when we were at Michter's, like we tried all of the bargaining with Michter's and just got nowhere.
Yep.
I know that's probably up there for the 3. That's probably a big one for Rundy. For a lot of us.
I was gonna say, according to Rundy, anything toasted is probably his dream barrel.
I don't like Michter's toasted bourbon. I
not
like
just anything.
I'm
not.
I'm talking just toasted. Yeah, like creme toasted.
That was one of the coolest things about the Starlight pick that we did, was that I don't think we ever thought we'd get our hands on a toasted barrel that we wanted and we liked.
Yeah.
So that was kind of exciting just in its own right, that we were like, oh my God, I would put this toasted barrel against some of my favorite toasted things.
Yeah.
And we just got to pick it. Like, that was so cool for us, you know?
Yeah. And
but a purple top is definitely... We don't even drink, like the 3 of us don't even drink a ton of purple tops. What happens is every time we're down in Louisville, we go to like this barbecue place and they have purple tops readily on the menu, and just the prices are criminal in our favor, right? They're so low. It's a buyer's market. And we drink all the purple tops. Every time we do it, we just sit there and like ooh and ah over the purple top.
We just sigh and just go.
I'm telling you right now, I am trying so hard not to drink my entire purple top, because I know for a fact I promised all 3 of you a sample of it. So I'm trying
We're pretty good at sharing 2 ounces between the 3 of us if we have to.
I am trying as hard as I can. And I'm not splitting 2 ounces between 3 of you. You're each getting 1 or 2 ounces of it. So I got
you have the Panda one, right?
I got the bourbon Panda,
Yeah.
So I think we kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. And through the Booze Nest and through Gold Star, we actually have already had a partnership.
Yes.
So for those of you that don't know, our homeboy right here, hold up, there we go. Oh, wrong way.
Little Godfather.
The first barrel that Gold Star and the Booze Nest has done together.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure I told you guys this when it happened. I actually posted that bottle on the Booze Nest. And I don't know if Chris knows this, but our bottle is now in 6 different states because of who purchased it. And
that's cool.
Not just states. It's also in Japan.
Really?
But you did? You did it? That's cool.
I did it. So the story behind that, his name is Blue Maserati on Instagram. Shout out to you, buddy. but I ended up sending it to Florida for him. And through that, he ships a handful of bottles at a time. He just got it today.
Nice.
So I can tell you right now, it's in Wyoming, it's in Oklahoma, it's in
That's
Michigan, it's in California, it's in Japan.
That is awesome.
It is one of the best things I've ever heard it.
Yeah.
But so I think based on how long we've been on, and I also want to thank you guys for showing up tonight. For those of
Cheers.
you that just heard,
Cheers.
you can find the new riff at Beverage Warehouse. Check it out. Give it a grab. But
Yeah, it's available.
thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for everything you guys do for the bourbon community, which I know not just through Gold Star, but also Breakfast Club, Brown Water, Great Lakes. There's a lot of
I
great
think it's
groups
like a
that we're all
pleasure
part
and a privilege, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
are definitely.
I
Every once
definitely
in a while,
want
it's
to
a
thank
pain in the ass too.
yeah. I definitely
But we
want to
like
thank
it.
everyone for joining. I think at this point we can call episode 3 a wrap.
Yeah.
And
Cheers to that.
thank you
Cheers.
all.
It was a
Cheers,
pleasure.
everyone. Thank you guys for coming
Cheers.
on.
Cheers, everybody.
We'll see you guys next week for episode 4.
All right. See ya.
Cheers.